Welcome. Today's March 26th. Thank you for tuning into episode 1 of Trailer Talk. I am Lil Stank. This is my co-host,
Leather Hat Guy.
Virtually dominating the news again is the coronavirus. Last night we're up to 1,000 deaths in the U.S. around 11 o'clock. I saw one of those, just interesting, was a New York rabbi who was a Holocaust survivor. 91 years old, got taken out by the virus. Survived Hitler, but the virus got him.
91, that's a good run.
No, you offer me 91 today, I'll take it. Definitely. Other coronavirus-related headlines, I did see Dr. Fauci, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's now hypothesizing this could be a seasonal thing that we go through. We could have cold, flu, and coronavirus season coming. I think the reason being because the southern hemisphere is now entering winter, so it's creeping southward. It's going to migrate and stay in the southern hemisphere during their winter cold flu season, and by the time it's getting kicked out of there, we'll be approaching our season again. So it's possible this could be another cyclical thing, which Dr. Fauci said really amplifies the need for a virus cure or vaccine. Yeah, thank you. So, that's a scary thought. It was 1,000 deaths last night, and I saw a headline this morning. They're saying it could be 80,000 deaths just in the U.S. with all of the closures, all of the isolation. They said that could still lead to us having 80,000 U.S. deaths, which is insane.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say I would be against any relaxations of quarantine or safety precautions as of right now. Might even lean towards strengthening some of those precautions.
Well, the issue is that the precautions and guidelines, from my point of view, are great. You have a lot of people that aren't following them. I mean, this is a mandatory lockdown, but it almost sounds like vouching for some SS type system where if you get on the road you have to show your papers or show that you're out for a just cause. But look, I mean, if we don't really get in front of this, I told you a little bit earlier, I went up to town yesterday. I'm virtually out of food, and shelves have been empty, so I went back to try and get some yesterday, and you wouldn't tell there was a mandatory stay-at-home order going on. I mean, there's a bigger crowd when I went than I've seen the last couple of times I've been through up there. It's kind of alarming.
Say, like you said, we talked about that a little before we started this. What I think needs to be pointed out, less the crowd, the loiterers you were talking about, because it's understood you have to be able to go out and get your supplies, get everything taken care of, but you're expected, I believe, to do this quickly and return to your home.
Well, and let's look at what we're going out to get. I mean, there's obviously, you're always going to have emergency situations, but I mean, in this scenario we're in right now, I think we need to go out and look to get maybe a week worth of food supplies at a time, and not go out there nickel and diming things, because then you're going to have to go back tomorrow and the next day, and we need as little exposure as possible. Hey guys, Lil Stank here. Just wanted to let you know, this is a perfect opportunity for you to advertise your product during our show. Make sure and contact our team at lilstank49@gmail.com.
to snack cakes and the importance of proper survival rations.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I got a box of Little Debbie snack cakes up there yesterday.
See, if you'd have done it, if you'd have done the proper prepper thing like me on Friday, they were on sale.
Well, the issue was you proper preppers on Friday wiped out the Little Debbie end cap at the supermarket.
Hey. I bought 4 boxes.
Yeah, I got 1 box of oatmeal cream pies. They didn't have any fudge rounds, any Star Crunch, any of the good things. Anyway, did also see headlines. I don't know if you saw, worldwide we're talking now. Prince Charles has the Roni virus.
I saw that.
You know what I didn't realize until I saw that headline? Is that he's 71 years old. I mean, how shitty is that going to be if he's been waiting for 40 plus years to become the king?
He'll never be the king.
He's been waiting.
The queen is like bionic or something at this point. The spirit of England sustains her. I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, I think they said within the last 6 months, last year, that she was going to stay on the throne for another year or 2 and then hand it over to her son. In my head, when I'm reading that, I'm thinking her son is like 50, 60. Her son is 71, so he's going to be near 75 before he's ever, if he's given the opportunity to be king. And now he's staring down the barrel of the coronavirus as a 71-year-old never got to be king yet. I mean, that's unbelievable. I hate to alienate a whole group of viewers, but that queen seems a little selfish, like... Man, step aside. That's your firstborn, and you're going to keep that from him? You're going to keep that from him that long? I'm not British, obviously. They need a strong, 45-year-old king that's going to be able to reign for decades. And, this is unbelievable. Anyway, so yeah, Prince Charles, 71 years old, has the coronavirus.
Separate note from that article I read, I got the feeling they didn't really care about the fact that the prince had it. They just kept talking about, what does this mean for the queen? So at that point, it's like, never mind the whole be the king issue. It's like, are y'all even care about him?
Full transparency, I didn't read this article because, again, I'm not British, and not to sound cold, but I don't really care that much about the British royalty. It's never been my thing. Keep it on worldwide news. Again, I mentioned this to you earlier. We have a Vietnam airline called Vietjet that has announced it will give you $8,000 if you contract the coronavirus while riding on one of their planes. Now, number one, that seems like a hell of a deal. How much could that ticket possibly cost you, especially right now? Now, like we discussed, you're probably going to have to fly to Vietnam first in order to get this offer, because I'm assuming we're not going to catch any Vietjet flights out of New Orleans or, mainland U.S. So you're probably going to be looking at Vietnam to, I don't know, Singapore, Korea, something like that. And I'd be much more scared of the airports. I'd be much more worried about contracting that in the airport than on the Vietnamese airliner, where, as you pointed out earlier, they're probably wiping that shit down constantly. There's probably a few robots running up and down there, sanitizing.
They have a Lysol fumigation machine. That airplane is clean.
So, it seems like a hell of a deal, but there would be virtually no way to prove that you contracted it on that airline and not, in fact, in the baggage claim or in the airport, wherever you were coming from or going to. But if anybody's interested in a little quick cash, there seems to be an opportunity out there. If you're not.
Also, side note, if you get through airport security with a hazmat suit on, let us know. Inquiring minds.
Let's see. Keeping with we're going to finish our coronavirus headlines here, but I did notice, like you said earlier, they had the jackass that's licking things at Walmart that I think was charged with some type of terroristic
threats. Yes.
I saw a headline that is floating the idea of being charged with attempted murder for failure to self-isolate once you've been confirmed to have the virus, which I'm not entirely against,
Once again, I feel these things are a little excessive. However, if people can't seem to behave themselves, I might find myself agreeing with you more.
Well, that's the issue. Is I've got very little faith in people's ability to take responsibility on themselves. And especially I would say if you are showing symptoms, I don't want you out hacking and sneezing on shit, If you're asymptomatic, maybe we can say, you wear gloves, wear a mask, just out of an abundance of caution, and you can go get your groceries if you need something, I also see that hospitals are considering universal do not resuscitate orders for those that are infected, regardless of what their family's wishes may be, because they are, of course, we've all been hearing about the shortage of medical supplies, so they're concerned with risking medical staff in order to try and resuscitate this person, and they're now considering, I think the one I was reading, this was a Chicago area hospital, is seriously considering not resuscitating anyone with the virus that flatlines, which again is terrifying. But you have to balance what is going to be for the best here. I mean, I've been seeing shocking numbers
Don't
as far
go
as
to the hospital.
Yeah, I told somebody that this morning. I absolutely will not go to a doctor, to a hospital right now unless I've got fever, coughing, shortness of breath. I mean, other than that, you are not.
Well, now that you've told me that, I'm like, nope. If I have either of those things, I think I'm still going to try and stay home.
You're right. I might have somebody around just to hope they'll beat on my chest if I start to flatline and
Right?
I mean, apparently I've got as good a shot with that as I do at the hospital.
Better. They're going to beat on your chest. Apparently at the hospital, they're just going to roll you out of the bed and put the next guy in there.
So yeah, again, frightening. They're talking about 80,000 deaths. I think one other number I saw said potential U.S. deaths could go from 36 to 160,000, which is terrifying. Something else interesting, non-coronavirus related. Now we're going to take a break from the apocalyptic bullshit that's going on to look at some other things. Are you familiar with this social media thing called TikTok?
I am aware of it.
I'm going to try and find out. Okay, I've heard of it, but again,
as far as from what I've been told by younger, hipper people than me, TikTok is like the rebirth of Vine, which I don't really know what Vine is either.
Hey guys, a little Stank here. Just wanted to let you know this is a perfect opportunity for you to advertise your product during our show. Make sure and contact our team at lilstank49@gmail.com. Alright, so yeah, it looks like TikTok is basically just like you were saying, almost like Vine. It's a little social media video sharing site owned by the Chinese.
Owned by China and not trusted by the military, which is a good enough reason for me to not mess with it.
Well, the reason they're in the news, I happen to see the headline that TikTok was telling moderators to suppress posts from ugly, poor, and disabled users. I'm guessing because they don't feel that their viewers seeing these type of, in the Chinese company TikTok's words, undesirable people in their feed. They feel like if they don't see those, they see more beautiful people, they'll be more likely to continue using, I guess. I don't know.
Obviously, that is wrong, but I can't really hate on TikTok too much because that's the same thing all the other social media companies do. This one's just owned by China, who doesn't understand that you're not supposed to actually say it out loud.
Alright, well, just to play the devil's advocate here, how are you saying that other social media sites, your Facebooks or Instagrams, how are they doing this same tactic?
You have never seen anybody who looks like us on an Instagram commercial. You've never seen an actual beer drinker on a Bud Light commercial.
Okay. I see your point. Although, you know, bringing the TV into it is a little bit different. But yeah, I will agree with you. A lot of the things you see from Instagram are, you know, beautiful people that, you know, look like they're fake. As far as like having painted on bodies or whatever the hell the case may be. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
We've those videos we were just watching earlier, when they advertise for YouTube or Twitter or anything, we don't see Alabama Boss in the commercials for the YouTube advertisements. We see Taylor Swift and what's that whiny little emo chick's name? Bella Delphine or whatever.
I don't know. First of all, I know who Taylor Swift is. I don't know who the second one is. You can, I guess, make the argument that you're correct, but I could also make the argument that the advertisers aren't dumbasses. I mean, people are going to have a lot more. Taylor Swift has more draw than somebody that looks like me. You know, that's just how it works. Like I get it. You know, but it's different when you're talking about an advertising agency. You know, somebody that's putting out commercials to sell a product versus a site that on the surface I'm sure is meant to be a place where everyone from any background can share. And now we see that, yeah, that is the case. But if you're ugly or poor or disabled, we're gonna push you right down there to the bottom. But you know, like I said,
we want to talk about businesses doing that. Who was it? Aeropostale, American Eagle, whichever one of those clothing companies that got in trouble because their CEO said he didn't want fat, ugly people wearing his shit. Well, he caught, as I recall, a lot of blowback for that statement.
As well he should, you know, and I think that's what people, I guess, should feel towards TikTok, but my guess is that the majority of these people using this are millennials or younger, and if they're not the fat, ugly, poor, disabled people that the Chinese don't want to see, they probably don't care. I mean, that sadly seems to be the state of a lot of these kids. All right, so big news, big news, biggest news since the coronavirus. Tommy Brady coming closer to us. I'm as bummed as I was that he left the Patriots. I'm, at this point, a week later, pretty excited about Tampa Tommy. I'm looking forward to it. Kind of hope I know he won't. Kind of hope he grows out a mullet, because we're entering a new era of Tom Brady, and I want him to really embrace that, I mean, what's your thoughts? My immediate thought is Tampa plays our hometown New Orleans Saints twice a year, meaning we automatically have at least 2 opportunities over the next 2 years. Hopefully, we obviously don't know what's happening because of this virus, but we have up to 2 chances, including maybe playoffs, although my guesses would be the playoffs maybe in Tampa versus New Orleans, but we have potentially a handful of chances to see Tommy play over the next couple of years.
Well, obviously we're going to, starting now, need to investigate the schedule. We're going to need to look into pre-ordering tickets and jerseys. Now, I'm torn, because on one hand, it's much easier, cost-effective for us to wait, let Tom come to us, see him in the dome and everything. I feel at least one time in the near future we might need to make a little road trip to Tampa, like do the tourist thing, see Tom on his new home turf, show him that our love crosses team and state line boundaries.
Yeah, I'd definitely be down for that, and again, not to draw the ire of any particular area or fan base, but I feel a little less than safe going into New Orleans and rooting for the opposing team, as I've done that numerous times before, and those fans are less than hospitable. So
Pats game with the Saints shirt on under the Pats jersey in case we won, because I'm not that good of a fan. I'm not getting stabbed in the parking lot.
it looks like they have the schedules out, but not the dates for the 2020 schedule. No, definitely. Potentially going, and I keep seeing news that he wants to bring AB with him into Tampa Bay, which would just be a wealth of rich. I mean, he doesn't need it there. They already have a great offense, but wow, would that be amazing?
That's awful nice of him, and AB should be fine in Florida. I don't want to insult any of my Florida team. I'm going to go ahead and say it. You guys don't have the best history of keeping people who can't behave off your teams. You seem to welcome them a lot of the time. So I think AB should slot in fine.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I mean, I just want to see him have success over these last couple of years, and hate to see it for Drew Brees, I guess, is the biggest. I mean, he's looking at coming in second in his own division for the next couple of seasons. Love and respect to Drew Brees, but sorry, man. Although big news for him, he is getting Emmanuel Sanders coming in. I've been a big fan of Emmanuel Sanders for a number of years, and I mean, I hope he does well. I think he'll be a big help for the New Orleans offense. They really don't have anything beyond Michael Thomas, and yet teams still don't guard Michael Thomas, which blows my mind. By the way, I would probably be your 2019 season NFL Fantasy Championship had anyone been able to have a game plan to defend Mike Thomas that didn't involve lining a linebacker up over him in coverage. I mean, what sense does that make? You split Michael Thomas into the slot, and then the Colts, what do? They drag a linebacker over to put on the only legitimate receiving weapon that the Saints have. So Yeah, I mean, great job. Drew Brees, good luck. I mean, apparently they don't cover the people you like to throw the ball to, so you might get 60 touchdowns next year. Last thing on sports I really wanted to get to, and this kind of fits in with the coronavirus, but the biggest person I feel like, and I don't want to say that should be thankful for the coronavirus, but I feel like the person that has gotten the biggest benefit from this coronavirus outbreak would arguably be Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner. You might not remember, a lot of all of our viewers at home remember, but within the last couple of months, I mean, we had a huge scandal blowing up in the MLB, where you have the Houston Astros, and then afterwards the Boston Red Sox, we learn, have been using sign stealing schemes for a number of years, which resulted in championships for each team. And Manfred, he punished the teams with I think what I read were the harshest punishments to date that a team had been levied by the commissioner. But I mean, these teams are owned by billionaires. I mean, it didn't hurt them. There was no punishment for the players, though, and that he was dragged across the coals for it, and now it's completely forgotten. So again, not to say that he would be thankful for this, but I definitely think he's gotten the most benefit out of anyone maybe across the world.
I think calling it sign stealing is a poor definition of what happened, because when we talked about this earlier, when we just said, oh, stealing signs, it's like, well, that's part of baseball. That's been going on since the beginning of the game. But when you delve a little further into it, that's not sign stealing. That's cheating, as far as I'm concerned. That's well beyond watching the other team for what they're doing to figure out what's going on. When you set up surveillance equipment and have radios involved, that's spying. That seems a little more egregious, or sign stealing is shady, but still within the realm of the game. And as I said, once you've set up multiple cameras and electronic surveillance equipment, that's not stealing a sign. That is spying, and you've just removed the... That seems distasteful.
Well, and that's exactly why they had this punishment levied on them, because stealing signs isn't against the letter of the law, to my understanding, but the use of electronic communications and recording devices absolutely is. And
well, again, because when you're stealing signs, inherently when you say there's no rule against stealing signs, because as I understand it, and I assume my opinion would be the same as many other laymen's opinions on this, you can't stop the other team from watching you on the ball field. So if you figure out what it means when the third baseman scratches his ear, well, that's just the powers of observation. You can't do anything about that. No team has any unfair advantage or disadvantage for watching the other team.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And the same part of that is that when you notice, I mean, you can tell as a player whenever somebody's watching, as the catcher, you can tell that the runner that's on second is staring at you and then trying to motion something to the batter in the batter's box. Well, at that point, it's up to you as the pitcher and catcher to get together on the mound and say, look, we're changing this up right now, which is routine.
Yeah. But someone going up to bat be like, hey, shortstop's going to give you the bunt and run sign. Ignore it.
But yeah, this is above and beyond, and I mean this is
several large steps beyond what we've just covered, and
And I think the biggest issue most people had, players included, which was the most shocking thing about all this, was that the players were the ones that executed this cheating tactic, and they received no punishment from it. So, and again, each of these teams won a championship while using this tactic. So I definitely can understand the backlash, and that's why I'm saying I think Rob.
All right, everybody who was pissed at Barry Bonds, let's hear from you.
Hey guys, a little Stank here. Just wanted to let you know this is a perfect opportunity for you to advertise your product during our show. Make sure and contact our team at lilstank49@gmail.com. Mr. Leatherhat, where do you work? Can you tell our viewers at home and across the country?
You know, technically, I'm not sure I can. We're just going to say I work at what has been deemed a non-essential shop.
What type of services or products do you provide at your non-essential shop?
Mostly cigars and rolling tobacco.
So you're a cigar shop? Are you a head shop? I mean, what are we looking at here?
We are a store that sells tobacco and novelty gifts.
Novelty. I understand. The same way that some people take vitamins when they don't want to refer to things in a more nefarious term. Are we along the same lines here?
I believe so.
Okay. So they deemed that you were non-essential. How long has it been since you were at work?
Let's see, I worked Saturday, and I have not been back since then, so 5 days?
Do you know how long it's going to be before you're allowed to return to work?
As far as I'm aware, the governor has us on hold until the 12th at least, and then we're going to get further news. So I will be unemployed, or at least not earning anything until then.
Now that's interesting. You mentioned, so are you unemployed? Have you been let go of your position, or are you still technically employed?
No, I am employed. I have a job. I am just not on the schedule at that job, as it is currently not functioning due to the Wuhan flu.
Is the unnamed company you work for providing you pay during this period?
No.
Have they given you any direction as far as what to do?
No.
That's interesting. Okay. Now you said Saturday was your last day you were open for a little while this pandemic was spreading through our state, correct?
Yes, we were open while this was going on, beginning to become the major problem we see currently.
And so from what I can understand, this seems to be somewhat of a retail type setting where how concerned or aware were you of what was going on and you being in potential contact or exposure with random people?
Fairly concerned with my personal biggest complaint was us being obviously a non-essential business. We don't sell vitamins, we don't sell food, we don't sell medicine. They're really, you would think if the government's telling you to limit your out and aboutness, you would not be coming to our shop if you were doing what you were supposed to do. We had a lot of people coming in, which was very bothersome to me because it makes it very hard for me to minimize my human interaction when we have a bunch of bored people coming in. Just, I didn't have nothing else to do. So you didn't stay home like you were supposed to. You came up here to cough on me.
Were you provided with any type of any type of safety equipment or procedures from your company to reduce any of this?
We were sent an extra bottle of hand sanitizer and advised to wash our hands more frequently and Lysol the credit card machine.
So what are your prospects now? Are you able to put in for any of this unemployment that I see is being handed out since you're still technically with a job?
As of right now, I am not sure. I have been on the Louisiana unemployment website. I have filed for unemployment loss wages. I don't know how that works, honestly. I've never done this before, especially as this is, I have a job, so this isn't technical, true unemployment as I've always understood it.
That's interesting.
Now, that being said, on the website, several of the questions they ask you about when you do your paperwork do ask you, is your loss of money, loss of job, etc., related to the coronavirus? And they do ask specifically, are you unemployed or are you just not working due to the government shutdown? Now, I don't know what I qualify for with all of that. I'm still waiting on my phone call or email from the government telling me. So we will find out.
Now, I do think it's at least noble of your company to recognize that they're non-essential and allow you the ability to be safe and out of harm's way. I mean, that's and hopefully, you know, this unemployment benefit that they're expanding will reach out to you or cover you in some way. I mean, I know there's certain employers out there that have found ways to deem themselves essential in these trying times, which I think is borderline despicable. You know, I mean, we need to look at the fact that you have places like Walmart, like Target, these places that sell groceries and drugs that are going to be required to stay open. I mean, most of these other businesses are, let's face it, fighting for the bottom line. And while I understand how the economy works, I mean, you can revive the economy. You can't revive dead employees, you know, especially since we're not resuscitating corona victims anymore. So, no, I mean, in all seriousness, I think it's awesome that they at least recognize that y'all were non-essential and didn't try and finagle their way around that. So, that's good. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much wraps up everything for today. Do you have anything else you want to throw in there?
I don't believe. I think we've covered everything at this point.
I did see the Indianapolis 500 got pushed back to August. It was originally scheduled for May 24th. That's at least a sign that a lot of people are thinking this may extend past the beginning, middle
well beyond
of April.
What our official reports have told us.
So that's always something to keep an eye on, which, if that's the case, kind of makes you wonder about the prospects of like the NBA returning, because that would potentially push them. If people are having the feelings the end of May might be too early, then the NBA might not be resuming their regular season until the middle of June, and at that point it's going to push into football, and that's just hoping that all this is finally ramped down by then. But it's definitely something we'll keep an eager eye on. But look, all you out there at home, stay safe, don't go anywhere. From us at Trailer Talk, have a good one.